Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations, the world's largest classical Christian homeschooling community. I'm launching a new podcast, Refining Rhetoric. If you like cross-politics or just listen to hear what crazy stuff they're saying today, you will enjoy Refining Rhetoric. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform. I practice the 15 tools of learning by interviewing great guests, looking at current events, and talking about cryptocurrency.
What is this show about?
Yeah.
You know, did I tell you about our shows back in the day? You had, with Todd Fraley, it was Mishmash Mondays, False Teacher Tuesdays, Witness Wednesdays, Theology Thursdays, and Free For All Fridays.
Oh.
Yeah. We need something for Thursday. We got Beer and Psalm Wednesdays, and we have...
How about Victory Thursday?
Mishmash Thursdays.
Hey, y'all, welcome to Cross Politics. Good to be with you on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby Chuck Knox. I'm the Water Boy.
You know, it's not too late to make a New Year's resolution for 2023.
It's getting there. That was February. It's getting there.
All year long, we believe in New Year's resolutions here.
That's right.
Cross Politics.
Right.
December 24th.
This year, resolve to support hard-hitting, truth-telling, culture-shaping publications and subscribe to the Fight, Laugh, Feast magazine. Join our fight against an evil culture through print media by getting a subscription to the Fight, Laugh, Feast magazine today. Get that words out. The Fight, Laugh, Feast magazine is our rowdy Christian mojo incarnated into print media. While tech giants try to shut down our avenues to deliver the truth to you, we are the underground resistance, delivering theologically driven cultural commentary from faithful and heavy-hitting authors right to your door. Psalms to sing, recipes for feasting, humor to encourage belly laughs, serrated theological essays, all to the glory of God. Sign up your church, your grumpy uncle, the Pope, Elon Musk, and all your kids and grandkids, even if they're not baptized.
The city of Moscow.
Yeah, right. Chief Fry.
Yeah, Chief Fry.
Platinum Club members, you get a magazine subscription for free. And
that's new.
If you're not a club member yet, sign up today. 4 issues are only $60 per year. Go to fightlaughfeast.com right now to subscribe today.
And the thing is, it's really important to sign up now because we're actually shipping out early March.
Quick business meeting. We had one yesterday. We got to update you on something.
Politics of 6-Day Creation is that the next issue?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's obviously looking forward to our conference that you can also sign up for right now.
Yeah.
It's live.
Which is going gangbusters.
Register. Is it going? People are signing up?
Oh, yeah. It's fantastic.
Praise God.
Yeah. It's going to be a full house.
Yeah.
I'm praying for a full house.
So me and Pastor Toby had a business meeting yesterday while you were gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, you had to go.
Yeah.
And we realized that we needed to find ourselves some journalists.
Yeah.
And we decided
investigative journalists.
And
I came up with that idea already, guys.
Yeah, and so
we said that you would say that.
And so we thought we would put it out there and see if we can find anyone who might actually want to do investigative journalism, who might have some skills or at least has a desire to. Yeah. Y'all hit us up. Yeah. We want to find out if there's some people and
contact at
fightlaughfeast.com.
Now let's just make this really clear. We ain't got no money.
Well, we're gonna figure something out.
But you can start doing the process, and maybe we can develop
maybe like a T-shirt.
Yeah,
a sweatshirt.
Yeah,
one of these club member.
But what we want to do, we want to push in that direction, and so we say, hey, let's find the people who want to do this. Let's get them out there and start doing some investigative journalism stuff, and then we'll bring them on to talk about what it is that they've
unpacked.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. We want to create a network of nationwide journalists.
That's
we want a journalist in D.C.
Especially if you're near centers like metropolitan centers where there's a massive cultural or political things happening.
Mm-hmm.
So we're putting the filler out there. So where can people send emails to?
Yep. Contact at fightlaughfeast.com.
Yeah, send us an email. Tell us you're interested.
Well, we might say no.
All right.
We might say yes. So.
We have a calculation there. There's a process. Okay. Patriots for DeSantis.
Oh.
Right. Patriots for DeSantis. .us. That's my
That's
thing.
not what we talked about.
I know, but I'm mentioning it right now. Patriots for DeSantis.us. All right. Because my man Ron. Okay.
If you're in Florida, you need to have that site destroyed. You want to flag it because you do not want
don't take
Ron
our governor.
DeSantis
Don't
to be
Dude,
president.
he's terming out. He's terming out, man. Okay. All right, this is his last one. Yeah. He's terming out. That's why he needs to run. And so this guy, man, he just knows how to score points. Yeah. He just knows, right? He's taking little incentive birdie points and just scoring points.
Birdie points,
like little points.
Nobody says birdie points.
Okay, all right. Well, listen to this video and you'll say it afterwards.
We're also doing permanent sales tax exclusions on all baby necessities, including cribs and strollers. It's hard enough raising kids as it is. Now you get baby food, diapers, wipes, the whole baby clothes, the whole shebang, including things like cribs and strollers, which are very, very expensive. So that is going to be permanently tax-free in the state of Florida. We're also doing a permanent exclusion on all over-the-counter pet medications, because they're parts of our families too, and these are things that you need to do, so that's going to give a lot of Floridians relief. And then we just added, because I think it needs to be done, no tax permanently on gas stoves. They want your gas stove, and we're not going to let that happen. And we're not even a state. The way Florida was built, a lot of this wasn't even connected to gas lines. You got a lot of electric stuff. But it's just the principle of, this is ridiculous that and they do want to go after it. They got blowback, so they kind of had to back off. They want to go after the gas stoves, and so we're saying, we want you to be able to buy those free of charge from the state of Florida for taxes. We're also doing 1-year sales tax holidays for household items under $25, and so that'll be everything from detergent to trash bags. These are necessities, and people are going to be able to get those tax-free. All dental hygiene products, tax-free. All toiletries, tax-free. Children's books, tax-free. Children's toys, tax-free. All kids' athletic equipment, tax-free. And I think something really, really great, no tax on pet food in the state of Florida. So this is going to be really, really good for families in Florida. And if you do all this stuff, if a family commutes, if they have young kids and all this stuff, you're talking potentially thousands of dollars in savings when all is said and done. So we're proud to be able to produce that.
So,
a win is a win.
A win's a win.
A win is a win. I don't care what y'all say.
A win is a win.
Here's the deal. So I'm going to praise Ron and smack him in the face at the same time. Okay.
It's kind of what we do.
No. So this is his framework for freedom. Tax act.
Is he just doing this unilaterally?
No, I'm not quite. He actually might have some unilateral authority there when it comes to taxes and stuff. I'm not sure. But during the pandemic, some of the governors did some of the stuff.
It was emergency, Gabe. Everybody can do what they want to do in emergency.
So I'm not quite sure legality-wise. Does he have to go before the House?
Is he just saying that this is what he's presenting, or this is what he's asking his parliament, or not parliament? What do they call it in
Florida Parliament?
His state government.
I wish they called it Parliament. Yeah. They fought like they did in Great Britain. That'd be fantastic. This is his framework for his proposal, his budget for fiscal year 2023. So it has to be passed. It's a budget he's proposing.
So he's proposing this budget.
And it has to be passed.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say,
who's else going to vote against this?
Well, yeah.
Whoever hates kids.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, and pets.
He's doing a back-to-back school sales tax holiday. So 2 days a year, he's going to have sales tax holiday for all school supplies.
Oh.
So people can go on, August 15th and buy school supplies tax-free.
A win is a win.
My favorite one's the gas stove thing. Because he's like poking the Biden administration in the eye. It's fantastic.
The pet tax breaks are birdie points.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Okay.
There,
I told you you were going to say that.
Wait. Why are those birdie points? Why are those birdie points?
Because birdies are
They're small.
Birds are
Birdies
small.
But do you like the idea that he's...
That's right. I don't know. I think the kid stuff is the coolest.
Yeah.
You remember the one of the rules in economics is you get more of what you subsidize and less of what you penalize.
Yeah. Romans 13.
And there's a...
It is.
Yeah. Because that's right.
Good and evil. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
I never thought of it like
I appreciate that.
That's good.
That's funny.
Sorry, I wasn't ready for that one. But so on the kids stuff, love it.
Yeah.
We're massively overtaxed in every way.
It's crazy to read through this and read
so,
all that. Yeah.
Tax breaks, brilliant. That's us keeping our money. But particularly related to children and what the cost of
babies,
raising
having
children.
babies and stuff like that.
You're going to get more of what you subsidize. That's a family friendly, pro-family economic policy. And we want families, and children are our blessing. And we've talked about the Sandemic, the lack of people.
That's right.
So I think there's a lot of really good and godly stuff about that.
But here's the deal. So I appreciate if I was governor of Florida for a day or Idaho, whatever.
You'd be dead.
I'd be dead
2 hours after they got that neglected.
But I would let you be the county commissioner.
I know they wouldn't. But what I like about this is that it teaches. There's a teaching element to the citizens right now.
Yeah.
Look at all these taxes. Look how insane our taxes
They're like,
are.
we're taxed on that too.
Yeah, exactly.
We're taxed on that too.
Wow.
Diapers, all that kind of.
Yeah.
And so I like the teaching element there, but I do wish he would tie it into like, and the next thing I'm going to work on, and this is important too. You need to work with me on this too. Is getting rid of our property taxes. Like turn those birdie points into something really big. It educates the populace about, oh my goodness, you are right. We need to get rid of.
And education is your responsibility, not our responsibility. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And related to that, property taxes, I want to get to the point where you're keeping your money and you're educating your children yourselves in the way that you see fit. He needs to at least be preaching that from the bully pulpit.
And so everything, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to work on property taxes, and then I'm going to work on all education-related taxes so we lower everything, and you now have your money to send to whatever school you want.
Right.
Now, the problem I have with this.
Okay. Smack him.
A stroller, let's say a stroller is $200.
Okay.
And let's say sales tax in Florida is 5%. Let's keep the numbers easy.
Okay.
5%, $200. Well, sales tax on that is going to be $10. So I don't want people selling their soul for $10 and thinking, oh, this is amazing legislation. This is going to save me tons of money. It'll save them money. I'm not denying that.
Right.
But I don't want them to think like, oh man, I'm getting this great deal, and then constantly look for the governor for more.
That's a good
incentive, for more reward, for more, loose my restrictions. No, I want people to think in terms of freedom and categorical freedom, and that you don't have the right to do this in the first place. Right. And Ron should acknowledge that, as opposed to it's possible. Right. It just looks like Ron's just buying off more votes.
Right.
Okay. Which is likely.
Okay. So
that's what politicians do.
Yeah.
Remember, that's what politicians do.
And he's running for president. Patriots for DeSantis.
Haley, if you remember Gabe. Listen, I don't want nobody from Florida coming here trying to lynch you because you trying to take their governor away. Haley, if you remember the lady's name, just yell it out. But I think it was Therese the lady who we talked about
in Florida.
The Democrat,
the representative in Florida, state representative.
About education, all that.
Yeah, who basically got up and said Ron DeSantis is, playing into this woke stuff because he's running for president, and we got to be able to stop him.
Right.
And I don't think she's wrong. I think she sees something, and she's pointing out. And all I can see is hear her right now saying, "Hey, this is a ploy to do that."
Right.
And so I think you have Donald Trump on one side coming out saying, listen, if I'm president, I'm going to outlaw transgender surgeries. Do you hear me? Doesn't that sound great? And he's listening. If I'm president, this is all the things that I would do.
But I will throw log cabin Republican parties.
right. For gays. Yeah.
Which is Republican sodomites.
That's right.
Different kind of transgenderism.
But Ron DeSantis is doing the exact same thing, except he's just saying, hey, I'm a governor.
Here's what I kind of do. Here's what you can expect more of.
Right, exactly. And so he's actually doing it to be able to for politics. Like you said, he's buying off votes.
Yeah, you'd love to hear him say, you know what? We live in an unjust republic where you are massively overtaxed.
Yeah.
I mean, what politician just comes out point blank and says, God asks for 10%.
Yeah.
Any state, any government who asks for more than 10% is claiming to be God.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time you heard that on a political stump speech? Yeah. Nobody says that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that would be what we need to hear, because tax cuts haven't really communicated very well to the American public that they're in a form of slavery.
Right. Yeah.
And so we haven't communicated. When people talk tax cuts, everybody hears for the rich. Right? That's what they hear. We're cutting things for the rich. And it's like, no. We're trying to remove shackles from it, but we haven't communicated that well enough so that it communicates to everybody. Like, we're under slavery right now because we are taking this from, you don't get to, this is mine. I'm making a business deal with this person. The federal government doesn't have any sort of reason to be involved in this transaction, and somehow, or the state, and somehow they're involved with it.
Right.
Let's get them out of that. And that's not the kind of conversation that we're having, which means that we're still playing the game just for our side. And that's not good.
I'm pretty sure that there are people who agree with us and believe what we're talking about, who have DeSantis's ear.
Yeah.
I know that there are people
we know that.
who hear us and who know this and who have DeSantis's ear.
Yep.
And the question is DeSantis acting on full biblical Christian principles?
Yeah.
Or kind of a conservatism light that's
just trying to get to be president?
And like and maybe even sort of a utilitarian, like I can do good.
Yeah,
I can help things improve. But if you don't have the standard that your goal is that you're seeking to please God because you fear God because you want God's blessing. Yeah. A utilitarian conservatism, it'll sell out.
Because here's what it can look like. Man's foundations that are, conservative and kind of principled almost look like God's foundation in some sense.
Sure.
But they're wrong. They aren't. But what foundation are you built on? Man's foundation or God's foundation? That's ultimately what we're arguing for.
And I get all that. And there's two things I want to say about that. One of them is, how come DeSantis is the only governor in America that's doing this?
It's crazy.
So
imagine
I'll grant all of that. Yeah. And then with the Republican 100%. Governors, none of them are moving in this direction that DeSantis is moving in. So that's one thing. So,
I think it's because he's talking to people that we agree with. Like, I think he's talking to real Christians.
I think so.
And whether or not he has the convictions himself, I think he is getting good counsel from people who are saying, if you say these things, if you do these things, you're scoring massive points with conservative Christians. Yeah. I think that's probably why. Yeah. And there's a bunch of other conservative governors who aren't listening.
The other thing I want to say with that is, regardless of his motives and what's behind it and how long it's going to hold up, take advantage of it while you can.
A win is a win.
A win is a win. A win is a win.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to our favorite papist, Matt Walsh.
Can I read the ad first?
Yes, sir.
Gravity Jack is a full-service digital agency specializing in the development of virtual and augmented reality experiences, mobile apps, blockchain, and Web3 projects. Founded in 2009 as the first American agency to offer augmented reality, they even patented it. Gravity Jack's digital experiences have been a source of innovation for small business, Fortune 500 companies, and the U.S. military. So get your vision in motion today at gravityjack.com. Real quick before you talk about our favorite papist. He's actually not our favorite papist.
Michael Knowles, we one of our favorites.
One of our favorites. That's fine.
Anthony Esolen, he's probably one of our.
I think he's my favorite papist. Living papist. G.K. Chesterton is probably my favorite papist all time.
But he's Presbyterian now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he is. Absolutely. Yeah, he knows better now. So is J.R.R. Tolkien.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to point out. I just want to remind our audience. I don't know how you could have missed this. But yesterday we had a really special show where we announced the federal court's decision denying a request for a summary decision, and basically came out and slapped the city of Moscow silly and told them that this should never see the light of courtroom because the law is so clear that Gabe and Sean and Rachel Bonet were illegally arrested.
That's right.
In 2020, participating in the Christchurch Psalm Sing protest. Yeah. It's so absolutely clear because the law they passed said that First Amendment rights were still fully enforced, even in their stupid mask mandate. Yeah. I just want to say that again because it's a huge win.
Yeah.
I think even has potentially national ramifications.
Certainly.
Secondly, I just want to thank God for it again.
Amen. I do too.
And because I think it's His kindness, His grace, His mercy to us and to you and to the Bonets and to our community. I also want to ask our audience to be praying for the what are they calling it? The conference, the settlement conference, because that's still kind of got to get worked out. Yep. And so be praying for justice to be done there. And that it would be the kind of justice that really does continue to vindicate the truth and the Constitution and First Amendment, and causes evil people to learn their lessons. Yeah. And also, if you missed the show, I just want to encourage you to check out yesterday's show. Gabe's lawyer came on from the Thomas More Society. Yeah. And really grateful for him. Okay.
And it was pretty fun. Like Coach Rolo retweeted the show. He's Nick Rolovich from Washington State University, who's in his own lawsuit with Washington State University about all this.
But that's the thing is it's encouraging to those people who stood up, those people who are fighting. I think every win, we need to hit those things. The liberals do this. Yeah. I mean, the gal in Florida is like, you took away my AP class. I'm going to stand on pulpit and I'm going to preach a sermon about everything. And conservative Christians, we need to learn to rejoice in the Lord and the victories that He gives us loudly, and not be. It's not tooting our own horn, but it's asking God, do more of this, give us more of this. And I think if we just sort of shrug our shoulders and say, "Oh, that's nice, we won," you're not giving God the glory He deserves. Yes, and you're also not exactly encouraging God to do it more.
Pastor Sophie, I'm grateful for that because I was just having this conversation with my family this morning as we were praying. I'm like, when we pray, we then go in faith looking for God to operate. And when we see him move on our behalf, we want to rejoice and we want to bring those things back to him and show him how thankful we are for him operating and moving in that way. And this is one of those times where God has moved on our behalf and we want to come back and we say, praise God. Because again, guys, this is so important. We're talking about, while there's one thing here, it's a civil rights issue.
Right.
No. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
it really is.
Police abusing their powers is like a major theme in our national discourse right now. And here is a example of it, as mild as it was.
Yes.
Nevertheless, cops did something patently illegal.
Yep.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get to this Matt Walsh stuff because there's so much I want to talk about with this. There is, and I want to bring this.
But I think it ties in.
Okay. I don't know if we have the time. That's my point.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
I know. We can try.
I got.
You got some time?
I got 20 minutes.
Okay, let's do it.
You can do it.
There is right now, with the whole cop thing that happened with you and the civil rights that are being violated, that was wrong and it shouldn't happen. What tends to be the other side's response to this is therefore abolish the police. Right. Yeah. Now, when it happens to us, the conservatives on our side, what we want to do is we want to say, yes, no, we need to bring some sort of reform too. And it's like, wait a second. Notice what's happening here. Whatever's going on, the way the enemy is playing is getting two people upset at one entity.
Yeah.
Both sides are trying to completely destroy his entity.
Right.
Why is that? What could possibly another person, another entity involved, the spirit of the age or whatever, what is it trying to do? It's trying to get rid of protectors.
Right. Yeah.
So as much as this was wrong and we don't like what the police did, what's the real issue here? Oh, immorality. Right? Sinful man acting sinfully.
But this goes,
the institution could be very good.
Right.
But the way that we're engaging with it, there is a power that wants us to not want the institution to exist.
Right. Yeah.
That is not what we're after.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and this goes back to what we were talking about just a minute ago with DeSantis. Actually, do you want man's wisdom, man's law, which is always full of man's corruption and weakness and futility
and hypocrisy
and
eventually.
All of it, and which ultimately is tyranny.
That's going to play right into this Matt Walsh stuff.
Or do you want God's law? And that's why it matters. I mean, we can be grateful for baby steps that DeSantis and other people make in the right direction. We're grateful for that, and any slowing down they have of tyranny. Right. But we have to be thinking Christians and say, what is this based on? Is the standard God's law, the Bible, or not?
What a setup.
Yeah. Well, all right, let's get on to the papists. So Matt Walsh, was it last week? Was it last week?
Speaking of papists.
Yeah, so much has got, speaking of man's law, Matt Walsh last week tweeted out about Singapore. Now, my dad almost got a job in Singapore, and we almost went there.
So you would have got caned for all the stuff you did.
And so,
as a youth, you would have been Rawback is where your name would have been.
I might be a better child because of that.
You should have gone to Singapore.
Yeah. And so we started when my dad was working for Texas Instruments then, and so we started kind of researching Singapore, and we started hearing about all their clean streets and clean sidewalks and low crime rates and everything. And it was really interesting to come to find out that Singapore will do public canings, like caning, whip canings for people stealing, theft, stuff like that.
We used to do that.
And we used to once upon a time.
America.
Oh. And so Matt Walsh brings in Singapore into our country's morality. Because Matt, and we'll get to the video here in a second just to set it up, but because Matt is comparing our kind of crime-ridden cities where the punishments are low and the
if at all,
for drugs, stealing, theft, murder, or even murder, whatever.
There's people. You can see these videos online. People are running in stores, grabbing all
they
can.
That's in California.
Running out.
Well, because they've passed laws where up to certain amounts,
$2,000.
The police are not supposed to, not allowed
That's
to.
Crazy. I think it's $1,000, but
stop them, or in Washington State they can't chase somebody. Anymore.
And so here's Matt Walsh kind of comparing Singapore's low crime rate and the reason for it and to our crime-ridden cities in America.
But there's also a reason why Singapore looks like Singapore and Philadelphia looks like Philadelphia. There are many reasons, actually, and not all of them can or should be emulated. But in the tweet that got me into trouble, I mentioned one major factor that, to my mind, we should adopt. I tweeted this. Singapore is able to have nice things in part because they execute drug dealers by hanging, and they arrest even petty vandals and thieves and beat them with a cane until they bleed. We don't have nice things because we aren't willing to do what is required to maintain them. But offended as they may be, the fact is that Singapore isn't plagued by property crime and violent crime nearly to the extent that our country is. In fact, their crime rates are among the lowest in the world because, in large part, they harshly punish lawbreakers.
Right. So
there's a lot of truth to that.
Right. Well, the last line is true. We can't have nice things because, what did he say? I can't remember.
We don't punish lawbreakers.
We don't punish lawbreakers the way we ought to.
Yeah.
That's true. The question goes back to, though, by what standard?
Well, let's let Matt speak for himself.
Okay.
Because if in Singapore you're caught with drugs over a certain amount, and it doesn't have to be all that much, 15 grams of heroin, 30 grams of cocaine, for example, you are automatically charged with trafficking, drug trafficking. It's automatically assumed that you have that because you want to traffic drugs. And in Singapore, they simply do not tolerate drug trafficking at all. So if you're convicted of drug trafficking, you are automatically executed. It is a mandatory sentence.
So
Yeah.
So we're talking
Man's
about
law, God's law.
We're talking about drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just talking about drugs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Some bags.
This is important. So then Matt Walsh is now going to, what is the standard by which that we should use to engage with how we punish people?
Yeah.
This is what he's talking
I want
about.
to hear.
Caning is also, and it is meant to be, humiliating, degrading, emasculating, which means that the experience isn't going to enhance anybody's street cred. Okay, you're not going to get out of prison bragging about getting caned. Put another way, it's not the kind of thing that you can imagine a rapper, boasting about in a song. And that's precisely why it's an effective form of punishment.
40 minus one.
The easiest way to think about this. When you're thinking about what sort of penalty should we have for criminals, think about it. If it's the kind of penalty you can imagine a rapper bragging about in a song that becomes a big hit and is streamed 100 million times on Spotify. If it's that kind of penalty, then it's not a good penalty.
By what standard?
Yeah.
That's the standard.
By a hip hop artist.
I
got caned 40 minus one with the gleam in my eye, and I got.
Number one.
Are you done?
Are you done yet?
Number one. Matt clearly has a horrible imagination.
Okay.
He has no idea what rappers would actually rap about.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think he listened to much rap, but if you can rap about, they shot me 5 times and I still didn't die.
No, they would rap about this.
They'd rap about this.
Oh, absolutely would.
If they could actually be resurrected from electric chair, they would rap about that.
Yes, they would. He doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the depravity of man and the way that we take everything that we resent, everything we hate, everything that makes us feel ashamed, and we will turn it. We will turn it into an emblem of our pride.
Yeah,
I mean, what do you think all the pride stuff is?
I mean, I just made it sound pretty good.
So Matt Walsh then, remember he said, I'm not saying that we should, remember he talked about a Philadelphia and a Singapore. He said, now I'm not saying we should transfer 1 for 1, or is he?
Now, am I actually suggesting that we should adopt these Singapore-like draconian forms of justice here in the United States? Am I seriously advocating that? Yes, absolutely. Of course I am. Corporal punishment for convicted criminals, that shouldn't even be controversial. Okay, that's actually obviously the correct thing to do.
So I mean, corporal punishment for convicted murderers,
right?
Yeah.
So here's,
but for
no,
someone doing crack,
no. Corporal punishment just means a physical punishment. That doesn't mean
capital punishment.
That doesn't mean capital punishment.
I think it should.
Corporal just means
corporal and capital.
Means physical.
I mean,
so like a caning is corporal. Yeah, a beating is okay.
Yeah.
So I think Matt Walsh is. What's going on here with Matt Walsh is he's walking in the city, he sees the city, he sees it destroyed, he sees how people and liberals are using this, and he's like, you know what, how in the world, we're not punishing criminals, this is only going to get worse. Yeah. And so I think he has the right position on we need to start punishing criminals. Yeah. The problem he's having is like, what standard are we going to use? And he's like, well, Singapore seems to be working. Let's use some of that harsh forms of, look, if you don't have a standard to know.
This is utilitarian.
You're now different than.
He's saying, look, it's working.
Right.
Utilitarianism does whatever works.
And just wait till a tyrant gets a hold of that utilitarianism.
And so I want to say more on this, but first, so Maj Touré saw his tweet on Twitter and came after Matt Walsh. And he was on Whitlock's show, and this is what he had to say to Matt.
You know, if we're talking about getting more conservative values in urban America, Black America, where it's needed, asking for the government to be more involved and cane and brutalize petty thefts right? That's not American. There's a thing called the Eighth Amendment. Cruel and unusual punishment is a thing that we don't want. On top of the fact that, the war on drugs has been a historic failure.
Facts.
The founding fathers, even though I morally disagree with it, the founding fathers used drugs. And I'm not advocating for drug use, but I'm also not going to advocate for more intervention by the state to come into poorer communities to force and beat people for choices that they make with their body. I think that's the height of you sound like a leftist in that space. I'm not saying he's doing the same thing that a leftist did. There were leftists that advocated for the state to come in and violate Americans that chose not to take a jab or wear a mask. See, his brand of statism is in alignment with the one that he morally agrees with. That's exactly what leftists do. I am hard on criminals. I want them arrested when they violate people's rights and property, right? But what I'm not going to do is because people decide to use drugs that I'm going to say, that the government should step in where we and our communities have failed, because that's what it is. Now we want big daddy government to come in so we can have nice things. You would advocate, anyone that's advocating for more government involvement so we can have, in the Singapore example, a airport with a cute waterfall. Anybody that's doing that is hiring the state to try to speak in for the American culture and American politics failures. That's what leftists do. They want to tie the state in to come do their dirty work, to attack people that they disagree with. That's a leftist tactic.
Maj just went in on this. And this, so here's the thing. This is what I wanted to say earlier. When you see something and you don't have a standard for it, the form of justice that you use that's not biblical always swings back the other way. Yeah. Right. And it becomes just the same as the other side. And that's what Maj isn't saying this. I'm going to say this in right alongside Maj. That's what's happening. That's what he's pointing out. We're saying these leftists. It's like the same. You're just using power the same way that they use power. Right. And you're saying you want more power to come in. Like, that's not thinking biblical. Right. That's not thinking Christian in any kind of way. And so when you look at something like this, you have to look at it and say, oh man, again, I keep saying this. We have a Machiavellian view of the way that government works.
Power. Yeah.
When we look at drugs and when we look at communities broken down and we look at that, the federal government, if they were a biblically thinking government, should say, where's the family at? Right. Where's the family government? Yep. The government that's the family should be handling
this. What's this kid doing in the streets?
And where are the pastors and elders?
That's they should
the churches.
What's this son doing in the streets?
If you have a biblical understanding of governments, put the S on the end of that.
Yeah.
Then you look and say, there's other governments that's supposed to be doing their jobs here that are not doing their jobs. And are we responsible for those other governments not functioning? Something's going wrong here because we have crime rampant, drugs rampant, and those are family government issues that are then the church should be prophesying and saying, hey, what are y'all doing that has this spilled out right here? So then where are the prophets at? Yeah. But when you have a idea of Machiavellian government where everything is gathered in one spot and we have to go to that God to get them to operate on our behalf, this is what you get. Right. And you can't fix it by asking and doing the same thing, a Machiavellian power struggle to get power so that you can get them to do the things you want that government to do.
I wonder where
and they just feed each other.
And that's exactly right.
It's just left and right grabbing for power and doing what they think is best. It's divorced from a transcendent standard.
That's right.
They just feed each other.
That's right.
And that's when you get this careening, leftist, right. But he's right in that sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
I wonder what Maj thinks about prisons, because he said, I think criminals should be arrested.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if, prison's Machiavellian. Prisons.
No. Maj is not. I think he's for restitution.
I think he would be into.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be interesting. I'd love to hear him on that.
And that's one of the things. If you're a civil magistrate, and let's say that you have Philadelphia, one of the things you want to be thinking about is, okay, listen, our jail cells are not for people who are stealing. We want to. I think there is, though. I want to say this: there is a biblical place for public flogging.
Yeah, I'm not against.
I'm not opposed to public flogging.
The problem is by what standard?
How many stripes?
Is the standard whether rappers will sing about it or what Singapore has been able to pull off, or is the standard God's word? Yeah. Now there is provision in the law of God for a caning, a beating. Yeah. No more than 39 lashes.
Well, it's no more than 40, but the Jews would do 39 because they didn't want to miscount.
Even hit the 40 if one. But that would be allowed for certain crimes. Yeah. But we need to. It should have nothing to do with what I think, what Matt thinks, what Maj thinks, what Singapore thinks is what God thinks.
And part of the reason that they were given the lashes wasn't just to kind of dehumanize them. Remember, that's not what was going on here.
That's why the limit was given.
That's why the limit was given. It was to keep that amongst, they are human. Right. We want to encourage restoration. That's what the civil magistrate is supposed to do. Yeah. So if we have thieves, they pay back a certain amount, and on top of that, right? We don't have all this tax. We're talking about taxes. We don't have all this tax money going to prisons, right? We have a whole bunch of restoration happening. Yeah. And restoration doesn't just mean that you're restoring somebody's goods. Yeah. It means that you're restoring the relationship between each human. Yeah. One of the things that our law system doesn't do is restore that relationship between each other.
No, you go to jail for 30 years.
And so I have to pay for you going to jail for 30 years.
Right. To the people.
Right.
And so this is, again, one of the ways that we have to fix this. It's going to have to start with us having faithful families again. Yeah. If we don't have faithful families and we don't have men who are taking care of their families and taking care of their grandmothers and taking care of their grandkids and loving their neighbor and then finding out somebody else's kid and discipling them, we're going to have to carry some weights on some of this as our families. And the church is going to have to be preaching. And listen, when we talk about the gospel, if the gospel doesn't restore our streets, come on, people, we're missing out on the full totality of the gospel.
Right.
And pastors, you see that. You say, well, okay, what's going on here that an intact family and people who are loving Jesus don't have an influence in the society that they're in? What are we doing? Right. What are we talking about?
Right.
This is God's world. This is God's streets. This is, okay, y'all don't get me preaching.
I'm just going to say, too, I just want to circle back again. My objection, particularly to Matt's argument to Singapore again is what he described, what Singapore does, executing people who have just a certain amount of drugs on them,
crack or whatever.
That's wicked.
It is wicked.
Now, if you can prove that a drug dealer was actually involved in a murder, intentionally, OD'd people or something like that, or was lacing stuff in the wrong way, then life for life.
You mean like?
Oh,
I'm sorry. Did I say
that needs to not go on YouTube?
You mean, is that kind of like
that should go on YouTube now?
Look
drugs. Look what you've done. Look what you've done.
If you can.
No, but the biblical standard is eye for eye, tooth for tooth.
That's right.
Okay, and that wasn't the Old Testament way of saying it's okay to hate your brother.
Yeah, that
was the Old Testament and the universal standard of justice, which actually limits vengeance. Yeah, it's saying, because when your brother takes out your eye, you don't think to yourself, now I'm just going to take out his eye and no more. No, when he takes out your eye, you want to take off his head. And God knew that and says, no, you leave vengeance to the Lord. Let God repay it. But what Matt's celebrating in Singapore, particularly the death penalty for people who have a certain amount of drugs on them for drug dealing, just that all by itself, that's wicked. That's taking a head for an eye. And again, if it can be proven that a life has actually been taken, then take the life.
And that's because the civil magistrate here is involved in the life issue, right? The drugs and those things that are recreational, things like that, are inside the family government and the church government. Right. The pastor has the keys to the kingdom. The church has the keys to the kingdom. They are the ones who guard over people's soul. They have something to say about that person's soul that brings them under a certain type of conviction that they repent of that, right? The family has something to say about, hey, what are you doing? Come here, boy. Now, whatever goes on in there, they should remember that they have a biblical standard how they should engage it too. But it's not the civil magistrate's job to govern that area of life. And that's what's wicked about it, is they've stepped out of their zone into the church and the family, and then have said, we're going to execute people over this. It's not right.
Well, and that's what Walsh is celebrating. And that's wrong. That's bad. I think Maj Touré needs a biblical standard. He's like kind of a libertarian, but he's getting a lot right. He's recognizing the statism. He's recognizing the idol there of state, and recognizing that there are other governments. Where's the community? He calls it community. We would call it family and church. Where are those governments at? And notice even in the biblical law, somebody asked me. I tweeted about this a little bit, and somebody asked me, what about the law that says that a rebellious son that's a wine bibber and a glutton brought to the city magistrates? Well, notice something really important there.
Mom and dad brought him.
Mom and dad brought him.
That government failed.
That government is appealing as a last-ditch effort to the civil magistrates. And if he can be convicted of the kind of crimes that would be capital crimes, that he might be executed. That's possible. But notice it's recognizing there that the first line of defense is mom and dad. The family government is responsible, and there ought to be elders and pastors involved all along the way. But that's we need to get back to the Word of God.
That's right.
It's the Word of God or chaos.
That's right.
It's the Word of God or tyranny. And that's even when it's couched in these, conservative sounding things. That's why we need to ask the question. What is the standard here?
That's right.
Great for the tax, relief on baby
Praise
products.
God for it, yeah.
Praise God for it.
It's going the right way.
Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Is this to buy votes, or is this because God says that you're overtaxing the people and the families need to have the freedom to actually provide for their own families?
Yeah.
We don't want crime-ridden cities.
That's right.
Okay, but you can't just say that's bad and start punishing people willy-nilly to try to get less of it, because all you're doing is arming the liberals for the next round.
The next COVID pandemic.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, Maj is exactly right.
Yeah.
Why can't we say, there's an emergency, stay home, no church, put this on your face?
Yeah, it's good. It's going to make some beautiful cities.
Right.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politics. A win's a win, though. No, I'm just
Meet Big Ed. He has a tax-funded taste for children. Big Ed knows that the best grooming starts early. He has a plan for your preschoolers, a plan to gender confuse your grade schoolers. But if you think his grooming stops there, you have not been paying attention. Big Ed wants to liberate your daughters from old-fashioned ideas like, well, you already know. Big Ed has dorm rooms ready for you in prison buildings of learning, and professors standing by dedicated to grooming young adults in doubt and unbelief. After all, he is the gatekeeper of this brave new world, and if you want a job, you'll need to pay him with years of your life for a permission slip. Yeah, whatever. You think David paid Goliath for a certificate in giant management before those two squared off? Did Luther major in theses? Was George Washington summa cum laude in empire repellents, while Jefferson focused on ag with a minor in declarations? When the world needs saving, meaningful vocations abound for those who are truly prepared. And the truth is, despite Marxist advances, this is still America, and Big Ed is still a voluntary opt-in. So don't. Not at any level. Not preschool, not middle school, not college. It isn't complicated. When Big Ed offers you free candy, stay away. You'll thank us later. We know it's crazy, but run with us here. Men and women were created in the image of God. You don't need a government certificate of faux learning for personal validation or permission to work. You were born with divine permission to pursue knowledge and understanding, truth, goodness, and beauty. And at New St. Andrews College, we are committed to helping students do just that, to their fullest potential. In an age dominated by chaos, when learning is on a choke leash controlled by Big Ed and his many strange friends, ours is an education for outlaws, an education for men and women committed to building a beautiful and free society in the ruins of the Western world. When thinking is outlawed, only outlaws will think. Yes, Big Ed hates what we do, but his hatred brings us joy. New St. Andrews College. Liberal arts for outlaws. Mind, body, and soul.
One world order, plandemics, food shortages. What does the church do in times of chaos and destruction? We build. KingdomCome.io is an invite-only collaboration network connecting skilled Christians across every industry and around the world. Join a private network of unashamedly Christian founders and engineers, investors and lawyers, artists and farmers, anyone with the skill to share and faith like a mustard seed, collaborating on side projects and new businesses that conquer the world for Christ. Apply to our waitlist today at KingdomCome.io. That's KingdomCome.io.